All right, good evening, my friends. Tonight we're going to talk about a potential CIA funded color revolution in the country of Georgia. But first, this is a fascinating little thread from Gonzalo Lira explaining a possible scenario with that laughable story about how rogue Ukrainians blew up Nord Stream. So, within 12 hours, both the New York Times and Washington Post published long articles claiming a Ukrainian group blew up the Nord Stream pipeline. German media picked it up. Now the German defense minister is threatening to withdraw support for Kiev. We now know what's the plan. It's very curious. This is plausible. Their story makes no sense, but this is plausible. The Germans are going to use the terrorist attack against their infrastructure as an excuse to pull out of the Ukraine project and save a little face. This is a Giga Chad move. If he did it like this, Olaf Scholz went to the United States to tell Biden, very ballsy for a vassal state of the United States, either you blame Ukraine so we can pull out our support, or we blame you and pull out of NATO. They wouldn't do well if they tried that. Schultz's trip last Friday actually, now these coordinated stories come out. There are no coincidences, my friends. It's inconceivable that the Times, the Post, the Financial Times, and Zeit, German newspaper, would have simultaneously published essentially the same long article giving such a laughably fantastical story. Fantastical or not, they give the Germans the political cover to get out of Ukraine without breaking their relationship with the US, and it does something else, makes Zelensky's regime look like a bunch of crazy people. A perfect excuse for the United States to pull out of Ukraine. Again, prediction: Russia's going to lose the war every day in the media until they win unconditionally. I don't think this is going to happen. Beijing Biden is too well invested in his Ukraine project, and those politicians are making a fuckload of money off of it too. So the project to destabilize Russia via a proxy war is obviously a bust. It's a really big fucking failure. Russia is winning, and there's no way to stop them from taking the whole country. It could fall within a matter of months. The Beijing Biden administration needs a good excuse to get out and save a little face. So, what better excuse to suddenly realize the Kiev regime is full of neo Nazi crazies that we've been telling you for well over a year and a half? Nutters blew up the German pipeline. And now, how does that impact the whole NATO relationship where an attack on one member is an attack on all of them and they all will realign? I don't know. Maybe they're just going to let Russia take care of the problem. I think Zelensky knows what's coming for him, too. We had no idea, and the Germans have an off ramp, and they're going to take it, I bet. Oh, yeah, Zelensky will probably get the Gaddafi treatment. So, on to Georgia. In case you don't know, it is northeast of Turkey and south of Russia. Russia went in there in 2008 and beat some ass and took some territory. So they took the territories of Abkhazia and South Ossetia, I believe. So opposition besieges Georgian parliament. Very Summer of Love 2020 feel about this too. So hence probably Soros funded, CIA led, very, very familiar feel about it. So they're protesting against a, quote, foreign agents law, and then they clashed with riot police again. Now, the foreign agents law that they're talking about is very similar to the law in the United States. I don't know what they're fussing about, but they do want to overthrow the government and get a probably more European-friendly administration. So thousands of demonstrators wearing gas masks and helmets, sounds Antifa-like, surrounded Parliament in, I believe it's Tbilisi, Wednesday evening, protesting a law that would curb foreign-funded NGOs. They're probably all in on the grift, my friends. Police used tear gas, water cannons, and flashbangs in an attempt to disperse them. And believe me, Georgia is not going to put up with this bullshit like the United States did. You heard it here first. In a repeat of Tuesday's clashes, protesters used Molotovs and fireworks. Sounds very familiar, doesn't it? Drawing a forceful response. They don't fuck around. The authorities are trying to unblock the Parliament building and push the demonstrators away. You start plugging them, they'll go away quickly. Live streams of the protests showed demonstrators attempting to breach the gates and enter the Parliament building. Insurrection. Very insurrection-y. Several windows on the building were broken. Gunshots could be heard. Okay. I don't know who this is, but tens of thousands of people. Two ultimatums have been issued: release detained protesters and retract the foreign agent law. That's not happened, and the Georgian parliament is surrounded on all sides. Protests began after the parliamentary majority voted in favor of a bill recognizing any organization receiving more than 20% of its funding from abroad to register as a foreign agent. Not an uncommon law across the world. Opposition politicians, but again, people that are protesting, are in on the grift, my friends. They just don't want you to know about it. Opposition politicians denounced their proposal as copying a Russian law. Okay, happens all the time, and arguing this was somehow endangering Georgian democracy. Now, this source is RT. Take it with a grain of salt. Euro Atlantic, endangering Georgian democracy in Euro Atlantic integrations. I guess they're just running the script everywhere these days. Police managed to disperse the riot outside Parliament on Tuesday evening, arresting more than 60 people for disorderly conduct. The opposition issued the ultimatum demanding their release and withdrawal of foreign agents law. Good luck with that. Don't think it's going to work. Georgy Vashads, hopefully I didn't butcher that, whose party has 3 seats in the 150-member assembly, called on the protesters to peacefully and non-violently surround Parliament. Don't think it's going to happen, but again, stay tuned. The U.S. has come out. Okay, CIA funded. The U.S. has come out in support of the demonstrators with the embassy in Tbilisi, denouncing the law's adoption as a dark day for democracy in Georgia. There's the same law on the books in the United States. State Department said Washington might impose sanctions against the government over the crackdown on the protest. Of course they do. They want another. They want another Eurocentric friendly country on the border of Russia. They can admit that one to NATO too. I don't think that'll go over real well. All right, President Salom Zurabishvili probably destroyed that one too. Recorded a video address from New York. What? What's he in New York for? On Tuesday evening, denouncing the bill and vowing to veto it. France's former ambassador to Georgia, Zubabishvili, became a Georgian citizen and foreign minister after the 2003 U.S.-backed Rose Revolution. So, same sheet of music, my friends. Oh, God, this is a bad one here. Irakli Kobahadze, leader of ruling the Georgian Dream Party, denounced the opposition to seeking to reinstate the revolution of spies that gave Georgia 9 anti-European years of torture, extortion, censorship, and the loss of 20% of its territory. And that's South Ossetia and that other territory I'm drawing a blank on, Abkhazia. So Georgian society is mature enough today to not allow a new revolution by the same spies or a return to the past. Kobahadze told reporters, eventually the passions will subside. The new law will provide transparency as to who is funding the extremist organizations engaging in Bolshevik propaganda. Very curious. If we do not protect the state from the rights of spies, not only will we not become members of the European Union, but we will also lose our sovereignty. There it is. They want to be part of the European Union. They're kind of a buffer state between Europe and Asia. It's kind of a disservice. Is Turkey in the EU or are they in NATO? I think they're just in NATO. Some critics of the law have complained that the opposition was doing everyone a disservice by labeling it Russian. It worked in the United States. CIA doesn't have any new plays in the playbook, my friends. The proposal that eventually passed was less repressive than the alternative patterned after the Foreign Agents Registration Act enabled by the United States in 1938. So RT dunking on the U.S. to be expected. I mean, the Georgian government doesn't want to deal with this U.S.-funded bullshit or Soros-funded bullshit. So anyway, that's that. Stay tuned. This is very early on in this story. Thanks for watching. Smash subscribe if you like this content, and prepare for the worst. Pick up some non-perishable food, my friends, and God bless.